You've been lied to your entire life about which engine is actually better. Not by accident, deliberately. Because the people who profit from your loyalty, the dealerships, the brand loyalists, the marketing departments, need you to believe their side of the story without ever questioning it. Here's the truth that nobody in the automotive world will say out loud. The difference between German and American engines isn't just about engineering. It's about two completely different philosophies of life, two different answers to the same question. And depending on who you are, one of those answers could cost you tens of thousands of dollars more than you ever needed to spend. By the time this video is over, you will never look at an engine badge the same way again. Let's start with the one thing that separates everything. Philosophy. Not horsepower numbers, not torque curves, not 0 to 60 miles per hour times. Philosophy. Because before an engineer puts a single bolt on a block, there is a belief system already baked into that engine. And German engineers and American engineers do not share the same belief system at all. German automakers, companies like BMW, Mercedes-Benz, Audi, and Porsche, built their entire engine philosophy around precision under load. The idea is simple. An engine should perform at its absolute best when it is working hardest. Highway speed, mountain passes, sustained high revolutions per minute on the Autobahn. These are the conditions that shaped how Germans think about combustion. The result is an engine that rewards mechanical exactness. Every tolerance is tight. Every system talks to every other system. Every component is designed to operate within a very specific band of conditions. And when those conditions are met, the result is breathtaking. American automakers, companies like Ford, General Motors, and Chrysler, built their philosophy around something fundamentally different: accessible power at low effort. The American engine was designed for wide, flat highways where the throttle rarely opens past 40%. Ease of maintenance in a world where not everyone has access to a specialized shop. Power that is available immediately, without needing to work for it. The result is an engine with looser tolerances, simpler architecture, and a torque curve that shows up early and stays wide. Neither of these philosophies is wrong, but they are built for completely different lives. Now let's talk about architecture, because this is where the rubber meets the road, as they say. German engineers are obsessed with the inline six-cylinder configuration. BMW has been building inline-six engines since the 1930s, and their modern turbocharged inline-six, the B58 engine found in the 330i, the 440i, and the Z4, is widely considered one of the best production engines ever assembled. The reason is physics. An inline-six has perfect primary and secondary balance. It does not vibrate the way a V6 does. It does not need balanced shafts. The power strokes overlap in a way that produces a sensation of absolute smoothness, even at high revolutions per minute. American engineers historically preferred the V8 configuration, and the reason is equally physical, but aimed at a different goal. The V8 produces an enormous amount of torque at very low engine speeds. In a large pickup truck hauling 12,000 pounds, you don't want an engine that needs to rev to 5,000 revolutions per minute to make its power. You want all of that torque available right now, at 2,000 revolutions per minute, so the machine simply pulls. The American V8, especially the pushrod design used in Chevrolet's LS and LT engine families, achieves this with stunning simplicity. 2 valves per cylinder. No variable valve timing in older versions. Almost nothing to go wrong. This is the first place where real money enters the conversation. German engines are engineering masterpieces that require engineering-level maintenance. A BMWN54 twin-turbocharged inline-six engine, found in the 135i and 335i from the late 2000s, is one of the most tuner-friendly, performance-capable engines ever put into a passenger car at that price point. It is also a machine that will absolutely punish neglect. The high-pressure fuel pump fails on many examples before 80,000 miles. The wastegate actuators rattle and wear. The valve cover gaskets leak. The water pump is electric and can fail without warning. The injectors carbon up because of direct injection. None of these failures are catastrophic on their own, but each one costs money, and they do not come alone. A Chevrolet LSV8, the engine that powers everything from the Corvette to the Silverado to the Camaro, is almost the exact opposite experience. This engine is so simple and so overbuilt that mechanics with basic hand tools have kept them running past 300,000 miles with nothing more than regular oil changes. The iron block was designed with thick walls and generous clearances. The pushrod design eliminates an entire layer of complexity compared to a dual overhead cam layout. There are no timing chains that stretch at high mileage because the timing chain in an LS engine is driven directly and robustly. When something does break, the parts cost almost nothing, and any mechanic in any town across the United States can fix it on a Tuesday afternoon. Let's talk about reliability in the real world, because this is where opinions get heated and facts get uncomfortable. If you search online for the most reliable engines ever produced, you will find German engines like the Mercedes-Benz M111 inline-4 from the early 1990s and the BMW M20 inline-6 from the 1980s at the top of many lists. And those assessments are accurate. Those older German engines I designed before the era of turbocharged direct injection complexity were built with conservative tolerances and simple systems that lasted for an extraordinary amount of time. But modern German engines are a different conversation entirely. The era of turbocharging every displacement class for fuel economy numbers has introduced a layer of thermal stress and component sensitivity that older German engines never had to deal with. The Volkswagen and Audi 2.0-liter turbocharged four-cylinder engine, used in dozens of models across the Volkswagen Group platform, is known for carbon buildup on the intake valves, timing chain tensioner failures on some variants, and oil consumption issues. The BMW N63 V8, used in the 7 Series and the X5, became so notorious for oil consumption and technical issues that BMW ran an extended warranty and owner loyalty program specifically to address the fallout. American engines in the modern era are not immune to problems either. The Ford EcoBoost 1.6-liter four-cylinder had documented coolant intrusion and head gasket concerns on early examples. The General Motors high-feature Phi-6 has been involved in timing, chain, and oil consumption discussions for years. But the core of the American engine lineup, the pushrod V8, continues to post reliability numbers that make German engineers genuinely uncomfortable. Here is the number that nobody wants to put in a magazine advertisement. Cost of ownership over 10 years. A German premium sedan, a BMW 5 Series, a Mercedes-Benz E-Class, an Audi A6, typically costs between $12,000 and $18,000. United States dollars more to maintain over a 10-year period compared to an American full-size sedan or pickup truck with a comparable mileage profile. That figure comes from multiple independent studies by organizations that track long-term automotive cost data, and that gap widens significantly when the car is out of warranty. The labor rate at a Mercedes-Benz dealership in the United States currently ranges from $180 to $240 per hour in most major metropolitan areas. A timing chain service on a Mercedes-Benz 4-cylinder turbocharged engine, something that should happen around the 100,000-mile mark, can run between $2,500 and $4,500 in total parts and labor. The same job on an American V8 pushrod engine either doesn't apply because the design is different, or it costs a fraction of that figure at a local independent shop. This is not an argument that German cars are overpriced or poorly made. It is an acknowledgement that the engineering complexity that makes them thrilling to drive also makes them expensive to maintain. You are paying for the precision. The question is whether the precision serves your life. Now let's talk about the thing that no spec sheet can capture: character, sound, the sensation of driving. Because here is where the conversation between German and American engines becomes genuinely emotional rather than purely technical. A BMW inline-6 at 6,000 revolutions per minute produces a sound that automotive journalists have spent decades trying to describe in words. It is mechanical and musical at the same time. It builds linearly and smoothly, without drama or roughness, reaching a crescendo that communicates exactly how hard the engine is working while remaining perfectly refined. It is the sound of engineering that has been chased and refined and perfected over 9 decades. An American V8 at full throttle, especially a naturally aspirated pushrod design like the LS or the Chrysler Hemi, produces something completely different. It is not subtle. It does not build gradually. It erupts. The characteristic burble at idle, the deep aggressive pulse under load, the bark when the throttle snaps open. These are sounds that bypass rational analysis and go directly to something older in the human brain. The American V8 does not ask you to appreciate it. It demands that you feel it. These are two completely different emotional experiences, and the preference between them says something real about the driver. Longevity is where American engines earn a level of respect that even the most devoted German car enthusiast has to acknowledge. The most reliable, highest mileage engine stories in automotive history, the taxicabs running 500,000 miles, the pickup trucks lasting 30 years in agricultural use, the muscle cars still on the road with their original drivetrain, overwhelmingly belong to American iron, specifically to pushrod V8 designs that were overbuilt in an era when overbuilding was considered a virtue rather than an engineering inefficiency. The Mercedes-Benz diesel engines from the 1970s and 1980s belong in this conversation as well. The W123 platform. Mercedes-Benz cars with the naturally aspirated diesel inline-5 engine have logged documented million-mile lifespans in taxi service across Africa and the Middle East. But in terms of gasoline engine longevity, across a broad range of owners and maintenance habits, the American V8 has a statistical advantage that is difficult to dispute honestly. The reason comes back to tolerance. American pushrod V8 engines were designed with enough clearance between moving parts that they could survive modest neglect. An oil change delayed by 3,000 miles, a cooling system that wasn't perfectly maintained, a fuel grade that was occasionally compromised. German engines, particularly the modern turbocharged direct injection units, you are less forgiving of imperfect conditions because they were designed to operate in a tighter band of precision. When that precision is maintained, they reward you. When it isn't, the consequences arrive faster and cost more. Let's address the technology gap because it is real, and it runs in both directions. German automakers, particularly BMW and Mercedes-Benz, have been at the absolute frontier of engine technology since the 1980s. Variable valve timing, 4-valve per cylinder layouts, integrated exhaust manifolds cast directly into the cylinder head, twin-scroll turbocharging, 48-volt mild hybrid systems layered onto combustion engines to reduce fuel consumption. These technologies appeared first in German production vehicles and only later spread to the broader market. American automakers spent decades resisting some of these technologies, which is why a Chevrolet Silverado with a 5.3-liter V8 still uses 2 valves per cylinder and a pushrod to actuate them. Exactly the same fundamental architecture that appeared in the 1950s. The trade-off is that this older, simpler technology is extraordinarily reliable and extraordinarily cheap to service. The newer technologies that German engineers brought to market are genuinely impressive, but they came with growing pains and complexity costs that owners discovered after the warranty expired. In the last 10 years, however, the gap has narrowed considerably. General Motors now uses direct injection, variable valve timing, and cylinder deactivation across much of its engine lineup. Ford's EcoBoost turbocharged engines have brought European-style performance per liter numbers to American vehicles. The technological distance between Stuttgart and Detroit is smaller today than it has ever been. So, which engine is actually better? The honest answer is that the question itself is the wrong question. The right question is, better for whom? If you drive 20,000 miles per year on the highway, you change your oil on schedule every 5,000 miles without fail, and you value the sensation of a perfectly engineered machine responding to your inputs with precision and character, then a German engine is better for your life. The maintenance cost is a fair price to pay for the experience it delivers. If you drive a pickup truck for work, you need it to start without drama at -20°F in January. You will occasionally stretch oil changes, and you need to be able to fix it yourself with tools you already own. Then an American pushrod V8 is not just better for your life, it is the only rational choice. The automotive media has spent 50 years pretending this is a competition where one side has to win. The truth is that German engineers and American engineers set out to solve different problems, and they both succeeded. The only mistake is buying the wrong solution to the wrong problem. 2 engineers, 2 continents, 2 completely different answers to the same question. What should an engine actually be? One chased perfection in a lab, the other chased endurance in the real world. Both were right. The machine under your hood right now was shaped by one of these philosophies. And now you know exactly which one, and what that means for every mile you drive from here forward. If this video changed how you think about what's actually sitting under your hood, hit that like button right now. It takes 1 second, and it helps more people find this kind of honest automotive content. Subscribe to the channel if you want to keep getting the information that dealerships and brand loyalists don't want you to have. Drop a comment below and tell us, are you Team German Precision or Team American Iron? The debate starts right now.